FOMO, or fear of missing out, is one of those neatly weaponized nerd coin harvesters that has been around for a very long time and is basic marketing psychology. But I think we as dweeby Warhammer people are seeing it more now than ever before. FOMO, or fear of missing out, if you don't know what it is, you've probably come across it without knowing its name, but it is the act of a manufacturer engineering false scarcity, or the implication thereof, to basically make you cough up. Sorry, I should say guarantee sales of a product. This can be simple in form as, no, there won't be any more getting made after this, and we've only made a few, and there's not enough for everyone, so you're gonna have to fight with sharp sticks over it if you want to get it. And of course, I've never fallen for it. I don't have 2 Leviathan boxes in the adjacent room staring at me oppressively every time I walk in there. Another way that our friends at Games Workshop, to use an example, like to do it is with money-saving bundles. So like the aforementioned Leviathan box set, yeah, there's a load of stuff in there that will save you about 40 or 50 quid than if you waited and bought them after the fact. And another method that not only them, but mostly them, deploy is to put a specific cool, fresh and funky new character in an army bundle box, and he or they won't be available for a few months afterwards. And you know, some of my contemporaries would and have, in fact, referred to that as a predatory business tactic. I don't think it's necessarily predatory. I think it's just a business tactic. It's just business. Yeah, you know the score, you know it's a FOMO box, you know that character in there is going to come out in a few months, probably, and you've got enough shit to keep you occupied in the meantime. You absolutely, if you don't want to, you don't need to bite down on that FOMO. Don't get me wrong, it's a shitty business practice, definitely shitty, but I don't think it's predatory. Predatory would be quadrupling my water bill and then telling me I can't use my hose pipe. So how do we deal with FOMO, and how do we avoid it? Well, I mean, just avoid it. The stuff that is locked behind that box paywall will probably come round again. Will you pay more for it down the line? Not necessarily. If it comes out as a single model and it's £40, I'd rather have that if I just want the model than spending £130 and getting an extra chunk of stuff that I don't necessarily want or plan to do anything with. You know, I wouldn't spend £90 on that ancillary stuff other than the main fit, you know, the main feature model in there. I wouldn't spend that separately, so no, I can wait. There's also the second-hand market to consider, like not in the immediate existence of that box popping up, because that's where scalper territory comes in, but once that model is released fully, second-hand stuff, you're looking at 20%, 30% off minimum anyway. So another thing to consider is, can you afford it? Or rather, do you want to spend that much money on something that you might not actually want? You know, I see a FOMO box come along and I'm like, well, that's not in my monthly budget. No fucking way. No way. Yeah, like in the early days of me getting back into the hobby like 6 or 7 years ago, I would just buy everything that was put in front of me sniffer. But nowadays it's reached the saturation point where I'm kind of tired of getting new stuff. I also frequently make myself aware that I will die before I get to do anything, be it painting or playing, with quite a lot of this stuff as it is. Yeah, I look around at certain things and think, I will never see the realization of the ideation I had when I bought that in the first place. 7 years ago, some of it. So yeah, there's an idea for you. Next time you're weighing up whether you want to spend £130 on a box of war dollies or not, just a bit of existential dread, that might keep you in check. But yeah, a FOMO box is quite an expensive thing. I know that some people, I mean, I'm throwing around 130. I know some have been a little bit less than that. I know some have been quite a bit more than that. But we'll use that as a ballpark figure. Some people will say £130 is not much money. I would say £130 is quite a big chunk of change. Of course, Warhammer people will say it's not that much money until you ask them to spend that money on anything else. like an airbrush or a budget 3D printer or a water bill. But yeah, you could argue that this stuff isn't necessarily ever going to come back, and in the rare instance, it doesn't come back. But you have to factor in, like, the initial cost of investment in every product is usually quite high, not the unit by unit price, but that initial investment. So when I was working over doing some stuff with War Cradle a couple of years ago, like they told me how much, you know, a steel mold costs to make one sprue. And it's a fucking eye-watering amount. And yeah, there's a good chance they'll make that money back with a single run FOMO print, but then it's terrible business practice to just then put that mold away, that mold that has got like 40 years more life in it, and say, no, we're never going to do that again, because we did promise that it was limited to this one set, didn't we do? I mean, it's no consolation, but like maybe in 25 years, they'll definitely bring it back. Like they did with Old World, like those steel molds just sat on a shelf for 25 years. They dust them out, bring them back again, make a fresh chunk of change off those. But yeah, I sit here and I say, you know, just FOMO, don't do it. But I also understand if you're entrenched in the Warhammer ecosystem and that's your thing and all your friends are doing it and your weekly game nights are Warhammer, then that stuff is persistently around you. You can't really escape it. It becomes that problem of everyone else has got this cool new thing. I don't have the cool new thing. That does suck. And yeah, I agree that does kind of suck when everyone's got the new hot thing. And I don't even want to play Death Stranding 2. I'm not even bothered. But really, even if you do go to your regular gaming night and everyone has got that hot new Lionel Richie model or whatever it was, the Dark Angels Charles Dance dude. Even if they do him and he's all painted up 24 hours after they bought him, which is definitely what's going to happen, it still kind of doesn't matter. It still kind of doesn't matter. And I'm not going to go down that proxy route of, you know, just treat everything miniature agnostic, because that, while I do that, I know not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone has the capacity to do that. Not everyone. I know a lot of people do want like the legit model and can't escape that need to have it, and that's entirely fair. If you want it, you want it. But I got super tired of that kind of fucking churn, and I live like 2 or 3 waves behind current releases of most things now. It's just a cheaper and more peaceful life, but more importantly, it's cheaper. But the main problem with the FOMO grind is that new and shiny is always new and shiny, and new and shiny things stop being new and they lose their shine after a while. And I know a lot of people that have got FOMO stuff that is just kind of, you go around to the house and it's still sat on a shelf in its box and they've got a new FOMO thing since and a new FOMO thing since. The general principle I go by is, if I have to ask myself, do I actually want this? Then chances are, if I'm going to have to convince myself, I don't really need it. I don't really need it. And I try and go by that with toy soldiers, video games, collectibles, lenses, cameras. Of course, it isn't just, you know, Games Workshop that do it in our little hobby corner of the world. Other companies do have the false scarcity. Games Workshop can just happen to afford to be able to do it better than most people. Other companies, you know, smaller companies like Mantic, for example, will do limited releases, but I think part of that is to gauge whether, you know, how well will it sell, how many people want it, and how long can we take this off the production line to put this on before we put the other thing back on. Yeah, just a couple of things to consider with it there, really. I understand I speak from a fairly privileged position in that I'm mostly agnostic in my stuff, and I'd say I'm a gamer as much as I am a painter. But I'm not in an ecosystem where generally people are buying the same stuff around me. I tend to, if I want to play something, I'll bring enough for 2 or 3 people to play, because I know that getting people into a new game, unless I buy it, requires them to buy it, and I don't want to tell people to buy stuff. Obviously, I'm sat here right now telling everyone not to buy stuff, so. On that note, I think I'm going to leave it there. And if you absolutely hate FOMO but keep getting bitten by it, you know what to do. If you absolutely love FOMO and keep getting bitten by it, well then we're kind of done, aren't we? You're happy, and I'm happy that you're happy, so that's all good. Thank you to my wonderful Patreon community for being legends not only to themselves but to each other and supporting this channel, keeping the lights on, and being legends to me as well. Thank you muchly for your support. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because I have no idea what's coming up next, but if you like and subscribe, you'll find out first before anyone else. That's the FOMO, but it's free. Like and subscribe, that's the FOMO, the MS Paints FOMO. Cheers! I'm out of here.